Hello world and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome! I'm nikkirenae and today we are doing a really fun project. I've been waiting a few days for this and the package is finally here. So today we are filling a TBR jar. First, let's do some appreciation for the jar. I'm obsessed. I got this off of Etsy. I will absolutely link the store in the description. And there are a few reasons why I love this and I chose this. First, as you can tell, there is like an etching sort of design on the outside of the jar, and it's these really fun book related things, just cozy things. And then the best part is that on the top it is engraved or like branded with my name. So not only is this my TBR jar, but it really is nikkirenae's TBR jar. I just got the package today, but I did in fact start working on this project a few days ago. I wanted to get a lot of things set in stone beforehand. As you can tell, I sometimes have problems with joints or things or whatever in my hand, so I knew that I wanted this to be the kind of thing that could be sustainable without any lasting repercussions to any part of my health. So today we are filling my TBR jar with my Cricut. So I will insert the footage here of all the things that I've done so far. I took every book from my Notion database and I put it over into my Cricut software, and then I categorized everything based on genre. I briefly thought about expanding the genres, but I'm already using basically every color of the rainbow and some, and given how small the fiction section is, I decided that that was just not something I wanted to do at the moment. I transferred everything over and then I got all the words organized, all the things. One thing that I knew I wanted to do was figure out which size would be good for the slips, because I'm obviously making my own and I'm not writing them down. So I have 3 sizes here. The first and smallest size is 2.5 inches by 0.75 inches, and I felt like if I went any smaller than this, or if I did this size, then the words would be probably a little bit too small for my preference. And then the biggest size is 2.75 by 1. And I felt like this was just a little bit too long. I think I'm going to try and fold the pieces by 3s like this. But even then, I just felt like it was just a little bit too much space to be taken up, especially given that I have so many books, as you can tell. I have a sort of happy medium here with this slip that is 2.5 by 1, and I think it's going to be a good size. It folds down pretty nicely and it still has that height of 1 inch to make sure that I can have 2 lines of the title if need be. Now, like I said, I did already start doing this and I've already started figuring out a few things within this project. So for all of these slips of paper, because I am going to be making one for every single book on my TBR, and further, I had 2 stipulations. The first was that any book that I've already read for the channel would not be included in this jar. Why? Well, the whole point of my channel really is to read my physical TBR. That's why I'm mostly really only reading physical books. And the whole point of whenever I try and get bookish things like this, whether that be the jar or the scanner, is to just try and make my life a little bit easier. And my point being here that I have been struggling to figure out what to read, and I struggle a lot because there are just so many books that I want to read and I want to do videos for like everything. I figured, why not kill 2 birds with 1 stone? I could do sort of like TikTok videos with this, picking out the book, and then I could also do that book for whatever vlog I do next, depending on, you know, just little things like what time of the year it is, what I personally want to get to, and things like that, just to try and make my life a little bit easier. And then stipulation number 2 was that for any series, I would only put the first book that I am reading next. So for example, I have read the Geek Girl series a lot this summer. There are 6 books, and I have read the first 3 for this channel already, which means the next book that will go in will be the 4th book. And then whenever I get that 4th book, I will put in the 5th book. Hope that makes sense. So now that we've gone over that, I'm going to now go through and update my Cricut situation to have the rectangles of paper reflect the correct size, and then also update for any new books that I've gotten since I last was in this. And I'm going to pick out some paper. That was the biggest thing that I was sort of like, oh shoot, I didn't even like think about that really, was the paper. So I think we're actually going to do that first because I have a lot here to sift through, and I think it would just be better to have that ready first. I'm specifically using cardstock, and I have a lot of different kinds of cardstock here. So I'm going to get them out and then I will show them to you and then we can discuss. Okay, so I have all of the paper out. I was thinking for a while that I would use the squares, but I feel like they might end up being too small because there are only 4 pages of each color, and I only have 1 packet of each thing. And if I am doing this size, then it's definitely not going to be feasible for everything. So maybe I should rethink the size of the slips. Should I go with the smaller option and just make the font smaller? Even then, it's still going to take up a lot. Could I fit at least 2 across though? Yes. And then some going, okay. Okay, I think at the very least, I need fantasy to 100% be a full piece of paper. So let's find a good orange. Okay, so then there are 4 of these. Will they fit? Will this fit all of those? Ooh, like 3. That's a good one. Okay, I think this is going to be our orange. Okay, I have some color options here, and I think before I make a full decision, I will have to fix all the formatting just so I can see how many of each there really is. So I have this red for nonfiction, this yellow for graphic. Next was historical, and I struggled to figure out this because I just don't really like brown, I guess. So I have this brown in the big papers, and then I have these browns in the smaller. Which brings me to classics. This is the purple. I don't love it, don't hate it. But then I also have a lighter purple and this purple. These are the options. Next is fiction, which I have this blue for. And then we have sci-fi, so I have this green. And then we have romance, which is another one that I was a little bit iffy on which color I wanted to do. Because like I said, I love pastels, but I feel like I have to just let that go because I don't have the right kind of pastel papers for this. So I had these 2 pinks. I am going to go ahead and reformat and fix everything for as of right now in my library. know. I believe that you're crooked. I'm sorry, but there's not really much I can do about that. Anyway, I don't know when the last time was that I actually spoke to you, but it is now Wednesday the 20th, which means yesterday was my birthday. Yay! Today is Wednesday. My move-in day to go back to my dorm is Friday. So we really need to finish this project, and I am so happy to say that I have all of the slips, all of the things, I have them all done. They're all written out, cut out, and ready to go. The proportions of a lot of them I'm not happy with, so definitely give me some recommendations to help even things out, because fantasy compared to everything else is ridiculous. Let me take a picture so I can put it on screen, because what the heck? Also, I am slightly worried about the size of the paper versus the jar. For an example, this is a piece of paper compared to the jar. So I feel like they're a little bit big. I think last I said they were going to be 0.7 inches tall and 2 wide. I did make them a little bit smaller because I was just looking at them and already I was thinking that's gonna be big. So they actually ended up being 0.7 inches tall and 2.333 inches wide. So I'm going to go through and sort out the series and then put them in order, and then I am also going to decide what is actually going to go into the jar before I start folding them. And then lastly, everything that's not going to go in is going to be put away for safekeeping for whenever I need them later, which is another thing that I really wanted to talk about because I had options. I just couldn't picture what size these were going to be, so I had options. So the first is this pen and gear little storage container. I love these. I have them in I think practically every size, and I was like, oh, this would be great. It does sort of fit, but I don't know if you can tell, but it's actually not laying flat, and then it bends if I try. The smallest pen and gear storage is out of the question. But then I also have this size, which I don't know what size this is. It's not an index size, so this is good, and obviously as you can see it fits and it's flat. So this is also an option, but then I was worried about the bulk of them and whether they would actually fit well, because like I said, fantasy is genuinely a good inch thick right now, and that's just them in a pile. So I was looking at what other things I might have, and I remembered something that I got from my sister, which I have been racking my brain trying to figure out how to use it because I really, really wanted to. And I'm so excited for this because I think it'll look good in my dorm or on my shelves here. But it is a book tin. I do not know what this is from. It might be, I think it was a romantasy bookish box situation. There are wings on the front. I don't know if you can tell. So on the spine it says Shadow Singer, and then on the back, some people say it is magic and will always strike true. I don't remember what that's from. Yes, it's Asriel from A Court of Thorns and Roses. Don't hate me, it's been a really long time since I've read them. They are in there, so maybe we'll get to them. Anyway, I thought this could be a really fun one. It's decently thick and it's obviously bigger. If you don't know, a book tin is literally just like a tin storage container that looks like a book. So I thought this would be a really good option because it's much thicker, bigger, wider. I got a pack of Recollections cardstock from Michael's, and it was thick because I wanted to make sure that I had enough for everything, but I ended up changing 2 colors because I just didn't think that they fit in well enough, and now that I see everything laid out like this, I think it looks so good. I think all the colors go really well together. So, like I said before, fantasy is still orange, romance is still pink, classics are still purple, sci-fi is still green, graphic novels are still yellow, and fiction is still blue. Now, the 2 adjustments that I made were for nonfiction and historical fiction. So nonfiction I had as red, and truly, let's be so real, a pastel red is really just going to be pink. So I decided to go for gray, and I'm not mad at it, especially put in with all the other colors. I think it looks really nice. And then for historical fiction, I was going to do brown, and I thought, you know, the gray and the brown and then all the colors, it all just made a lot of sense to me, especially because like nonfiction is sort of seen as sterile almost, you know, so I thought gray would look really well for that. I thought it would fit really well for that, and I like when the colors just sort of fit to me. And then for historical fiction, brown, like historical texts, etc. But I thought that the browns were just too dark, and I just did not think that they would fit in well with the other colors. That they're obviously not the brightest, most pastel colors, but they are lighter colors and they're very distinguishable between each other, and they still look nice together. So instead of going full on brown, I did this sort of tan cream color, and I think it still works really well. I think it sort of gives the look of aged books, aged paper, and I really like it. I'm going to sort. I have already started sorting, but I'm going to continue, and I will talk to you when I start filling the jar. Aren't you proud of me? Can you get down? Thank you. So, I've got them all sorted. I did not put them in order for series because I was just like, no, I'm just gonna sort it. I'm also making the TikTok for it at the same time. I'm going to start putting them in. Some stuff I already know is not going to go in, and don't judge me, okay? The whole point of my channel and this jar is to get to the books that I want to read. So, that is the plan going forth. Everything has been made and written down, because even if it doesn't go into the jar, it's going into the tin. We've got the plan, so let's get going. Let's do the first ones on camera together. The first series that I really want to put in is A Deadly Education, and I think I've decided that I'm going to do them in half and then in half again. So I've folded it twice. Can you see it? I hope you can. And then we have The Last Graduate and The Golden Enclaves to go into the tin. So I will set them up in a way that hopefully you can see them, and I will move the camera so that you can actually see, and I will get going. Oh my gosh, I need a new thing to prop my phone on because I was actually using the jar. That's so funny. Hello! Oh my gosh, it's been a while. I don't know how long, but it has been a while. I think it's been approximately 2 weeks actually. I think I spoke to you right before we were moving here. Welcome to my dorm. As you saw, I formatted everything. I used my Cricut to cut it all out, to write and cut it all out, and then I folded them up and put them in the jar. And I think it looks great. I tried to do a good variation of colors here so that we would have everything at least represented. Whether or not everything will be chosen, whether or not when it's chosen I will actually read it, I don't know. I did get a lot of new books because the fantasy pile was ridiculous. It was astronomically larger than the others. So as I have been collecting more books this new semester, I have been very intentional about new books and trying to be more diverse with my genres and themes. So I figured it's only fitting. Yeah, I'm reading other books all the time and I'm reading other books for class. Not the point, but I figured it's only fitting to choose a book from the jar for this video to read for this video, you know? Because obviously I just have to make things harder for myself. In case you forgot, the orange slips are fantasy, the pink are romance, yellow is graphic novel, cream is nonfiction, cream is historical fiction, gray is nonfiction, blue is fiction, and green is science fiction, and then purple is classics. So I've got like everything represented in here in a way that I love, and I think it looks so good. I know I struggled with the colors for so long, but I think it works really well. Now, I think moving forward with the videos, I'm just going to show the book. I'm not going to actually choose the book. I think I will reserve the actual choosing of the book for TikTok. Sorry, not sorry, but let's do it. Okay. I feel like I should close my eyes, but I don't want to. I'll just look away. I'll just look away. I'll just look away. I don't know what I'm expecting in here. I don't know what I want. I don't want a fiction. I just read a fiction. I'm about to read a romance. What do I want? Maybe science fiction or fantasy? Oh, it's romance. There comes a time when I have to stop putting them back, right? Because they're all books that I want to read. What if I go a little bit lower? Ooh, science fiction. I don't want science. The only other thing is, as you can see, I've been like rifling around in there so they condense. Historical fiction. There's one book that I want to read that is historical fiction. And it's very fitting for the season. And I haven't read the second one, and I really want to get to it, and also the other book by this author. Is this it? It is. It's The Witch Haven. I'm so excited. I really do want to read this, actually. Let me go get it. Okay, I got the book. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'll tell you about it in a second. First, let's close the jar. And then also, I've got the tin, because I think I can just put The Witch Haven back in here. I was a little bit skeptical for a second because I did mess up one series and I put the second book in instead of the first book into the jar, but I think it'll be okay. So I think because they are folded, I can put it in and it'll still be fine. Witch Haven, it's in there. And we can move on. So from now on, if you want to see the TBR jar, you'll have to check TikTok, Instagram, or Shorts on here if you want to actually see it. We're ready. I've already picked out the sticky notes. I have a pastel pink. If you don't know this book, let me introduce you. It is fantastic. It is her debut novel. It is the first of a duology, and it's great. This is The Witch Haven by Sasha Peyton Smith. It is a historical urban fantasy, and it is so good. It's so good. Haxahaven Academy rules for young witches. 1. Mind your instructors. 2. No unsupervised spell work. 3. Don't leave after dark. I have read this book before. It's been a little while. I remember a lot of it because I did love it, but I'm so ready to reread it and experience it all over again, especially the things that I don't remember. So, well-behaved witches seldom make history. In 1911, New York City, 17-year-old Frances Hallowell spends her days as a seamstress, mourning the mysterious death of her brother months prior. Everything changes when she's attacked, and a man ends up dead at her feet, her scissors in his neck, and she can't explain how they got there. Before she could be condemned as a murderess, 2 cape-wearing nurses arrive to inform her that she is deathly ill and is ordered to report to Haxahaven Sanitarium. But Frances finds Haxahaven isn't a sanitarium at all. It's a school for witches. Within Haxahaven's glittering walls, she discovers the sisterhood she craves. But the headmistress warns Frances that magic is dangerous. Frances has no interest in the small, safe magic of her school and is instead enchanted by Finn, a boy with magic who appears in her dreams and tells her he can teach her all she's been craving to learn, lessons that may bring her closer to discovering what truly happened to her brother. But Frances's newfound power attracts the attention of an ancient order's dangerous leader who yearns for magical control of Manhattan, and who will stop at nothing to have Frances by his side. Frances must ultimately choose what matters more: justice for her murdered brother and her growing feelings for Finn, or the safety of her city and fellow witches. What price would she pay for power? And what if the truth is more terrible than she ever imagined? Are you convinced to read it yet? Are you convinced yet? Like I said, it's the first of a duology, and I didn't find this in any which way. This book specifically was actually my senior night gift from my family. My senior year of high school, I think this was for soccer, they got me a book. So then, when a year later the second book came out, I specifically made sure that I had the money and I could go to Barnes to get it when it came out. So I have first editions of both of them. And now, she just came out with, if you've ever heard of the Rose Bargain, same author. And now I have the Barnes & Noble Special Edition 1 of it. Why am I reading it? Well, it is witches, so it's Halloween, fall-esque, whatever. I've already read it, but I haven't read it for the channel, and I picked it from the TBR jar. What are my expectations? I'm gonna love it as much as I loved it last time. Do I have any fun predictions? I've already read it. I feel like anything that I would say would spoil. Anyways, with the fun little before reading questions done, I'm going to change the batteries. Please tell me if that looks bad. Those are the battery packs. I feel like it looks really bad, but I feel like if I just sort of sit right, then it'll be fine. You won't be able to see it, I don't think, from the bed when I'm reading, though. Anyway, I'll see you whenever I have made it partway through the book to do the midway check-in, and we will keep this video going. I believe I started this book on September 1st. It's September 16th, and I'm here to do the mid-book check-in. Believe it or not, I've actually been making really good progress in a lot of things, so I'm not mad about it. I've been loving this. Naturally, the plot is, of course, keeping my attention. I've read the book before. I loved the book before. I would say that it's not fast-paced, but it's not slow. It's decently even. Things progress in a way that makes sense. I think you could perhaps see that there are slow points. There is one point. There is a point when she's at Haxahaven School for Witches, when it gets a little bit tedious and we're kind of just skipping over multiple days or weeks, but it is an important element to the actual story and plot progression that there is this tedious, sort of boring part. Any standout scenes or chapters, I think the fact that I've read this before, I'm just seeing everything through a different lens. I remember the big plot twist, but I don't remember how we get there, and I remember some specific things, but I just don't remember exactly how we get there. I know right now we're getting into something that is going to probably be a big deal. I just finished and am starting chapter 17, so something is about to happen, but things are always happening, and I think that's something that Sasha Peyton Smith does well, is the fact that conflict is gas, and there's always conflict. There's always something to be had and to be conflict within. I think a lot of the standout things tend to just happen within Frances's family and revelations that we get within that sphere, whether that be herself or her brother, etc. I think that this is a very easy to fall into book. It is done so well. The vernacular and the syntax, etc., of New York in 1911 is shown so well, while also still giving this just enough of a modernization for it to still feel very fresh and not seem outdated. I don't know how I would exactly specify or describe the writing style. It's sort of lyrical in some aspects. There are definitely quotes and things that I really appreciate. I would like to talk about a specific quote actually that stuck with me enough this time, and it probably stuck with me last time, that I specifically wrote it in my notes. So it's got a lyrical sort of quality to it. I wouldn't say it's necessarily poetic. It is sort of snappy though. Frances is, she holds no hostages. She is that girl. This one quote that I think I'm going to end up posting it on my Bookstagram, but it is on, for anybody who might have the book, it is on page 127, at least in the first edition, first printing hardcover. It's on the bottom of 127. It is one of Frances's classmates that says this, and I think it is just it is something that translates through time, and so it is. Women are supposed to be competent at everything, but experts at nothing. Haven't you heard? I read that, was that last night I read that, and I was just like taken aback, because I didn't remember that from the first time I read it, but also I was just like, preach, snaps. So for characters, I love Frances. I do, of course, really like Finn. I love her friends. She's made 2 standout friends named Maxine and Lena. They are so fun, and they give a lot of nuance. I think a lot of the girls at Haxahaven actually give the entire story a lot of nuance and depth, and it definitely aids in the historical aspect, what sort of nuances and depths and layers that they give the story as well. And I'm very interested to see how this will be dealt with in the second book also. And then on that note, the relationships that are in fact hitting happen to be the friendships that Frances is making. She never really had friends growing up, especially not girl friends. And seeing the camaraderie and the sisterhood that she is making is just, it's always so heartwarming. The found family of things. Found family is my favorite trope. And I think that's probably one of the reasons I like this so much, especially because Frances doesn't have her actual family at all. Her brother is dead. Her mom is in mental institution. So she needs to make friends of some sort. She needs to have some sort of found family. And I love that we did in fact get that, and it wasn't something that was just sort of not delved into. Surprise favorites or characters I love to hate. I actually really like the headmistress. Her name is Mrs. Vygotsky, and I actually really like her. She's very vague about things, but I really appreciate what she's doing because she is the headmistress of this school of young witches, and the way that they get their powers is through outbursts typically, which means that a lot of the new ones come in very unstable. And on that vein, I also like a professor named Mrs. Lee, whose class sort of just revolves around the idea of, it's almost like exposure therapy in the way that they continue to talk about the inciting incident that brought their powers out, but it's also just like sort of therapy, and I'm a big advocate for therapy, so I really like those two. The world building is very good. I think the fact that it's New York gives you a little bit of familiarity, but then the fact that it is 1911, you're not exactly there. The vibes are also coming through. There are two things that I think help the vibes in this to be cozy and witchy and just like October Halloween-esque. The first is that there are cats around the school all the time. I don't think that is a spoiler, personally. And then the second is that because it's 1911, they don't all have electricity, or they don't. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not in history, okay? So they have a lot of candles going all the time. So there's always candlelight, lanterns, wax dripping, and I think those two things, the cats and the candles, do a really good job of aiding in the vibes of the book. Themes, there is a theme of grief, sort of revenge, found family. I wouldn't say there's necessarily anything with love as of right now. There is a little bit of power going on, which I think just lends itself to the idea of revenge, which brings me to just my overall thoughts now, I guess. I was a little bit worried that I would go back into this and not like it as much as I had before, and I'm so happy to say that's not true. I love it. It is still a 5-star to me. Like, it is still just so good in all the things that it's trying to accomplish, and it just makes me so excited, anticipating the next one, the final, the sequel and the ending of this duology. There are a lot of things that I would love to happen in that book, and I think when I do the video I can talk about it. I'm just happy to say that I am thoroughly enjoying this, and it is just as good, if not better, than I remember. Hello! Oh my god, it has been so long. You don't know that, but I do, and I don't know the last time I actually spoke to you. I think it was genuinely over a week ago. When did I start this book? Was it like the 1st? It is the 28th of September. I have in fact been truly tossed into the throes and chaos and trenches that is college, and especially that is your last year of college. But it has been so fun. I am loving every second of it. So I'm not complaining because it is great. It is better than high school for me. Anyway, as you just saw, I'm so excited to say I finished The Witch Haven. Let's just start. The most important part, right? Okay. This was a reread. This was a TBR jar reread for me, first read for YouTube, which is why it went in, because even though I have read it before, I have not read it for the channel, so I still put it in because I felt like it, because it's my jar, my books, my channel. It was a reread. Did the TBR jar serve or not? Did this still live up to the hype after like 4 years? Do I still want to continue this duology and continue reading from Sasha Peyton Smith? Yes. All of the above, yes. This is still a 5-star read. It was so good. Oh my gosh. I remembered so much, but I also forgot so much, and I think that's what I love about rereads. I wait specifically as much time as it takes for me to start forgetting things, because I remember details so much when I read books. I remember them so well. And then I was going through this, and I was like, I remember this. I don't remember that. And it was so fun. Obviously, I still remembered the very big, huge plot twist, because how are you going to forget the biggest plot twist, right? So I was not blindsided by that, but I forgot how it was all revealed. Listen, it's so good. It's so good. It is such a good, like, fall, maybe even winter read. The end of this book is, in fact, winter-ish, but the majority of it is the beginning, like, the whole of autumn and fall. So I feel like this was such a good pick for right now because, like I said, it's the 28th. The first day of fall, autumn, however you want to say it. I say both interchangeably. I don't know why. It was Monday the 22nd. So I did read and finish this in fall. So the vibes, immaculate. It is, in fact, 80 freaking degrees outside right now. But it is 68 in my dorm, so at least it feels a little bit like we're getting to the right weather. Anyway, was this what I needed or expected? Absolutely. Expected? Yes and no. Because like I said, I remembered a lot, but I didn't remember a lot. But was it what I needed? Yes. I have been wanting to read this, reread this, and also just finish the duology for so long. But I didn't want to reread it in a time when I just remembered everything so well, and it was just not going to do what it needed to do and what it was meant to do and what I knew it could do for me. So I purposefully waited, and it was so worth it. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I cannot promise that whenever I do the TBR jar video for YouTube, all the short form things, I cannot promise I won't rig it so I can do the next book. I am in fact reading 4 other books currently, so there is that. However, I'm really good at prioritizing time for things, so it's not out of the question that I rig the jar to give me the witch hunt next. You know? Did this live up to the hype or fall short? Any major surprises? Well, in terms of like hype or falling short, naturally I gave it a 5. Again, it's a double time 5-star. I feel like it's just not gonna fall short for me because it's so many of the things that I really like. There is a romance, it is coming of age because it's young adult, it is historical, there's witches with magic and like powers, and there's found family, there's, did I say romance? It's got all the things and I love it so much. In terms of the characters and whether or not anybody like stole the show or, you know, character arcs and things, first of all, I would definitely follow them into a sequel. This leaves off on a sort of cliffhanger in the way that, like, there's something that is unresolved. However, most of the things are resolved enough that you could stop if you really didn't mind not going on. If you didn't care enough, you could totally stop. But there is just enough of a cliffhanger and just enough that is not fully resolved that you will probably want to keep going. And I do. I want to follow them into a sequel, specifically the characters, obviously the story, but I love Frances. She is going through so much, dude. I'm in the trenches at college. She is in the trenches as a 17-year-old with freaking magic. Whether or not anybody stole the show, I think truly what steals the show for me is the friendship between Frances, Maxine, and Lena. They are top tier. The found family, the friendship, the sisterhood, I love it. It's my favorite part of any book, truly. Don't get me wrong, I love a good romance, and you do get that in here, but I love the friendship, found family, sisterhood, camaraderie, whatever. That's my favorite part, and I think as a whole, the trio of them probably stole the show the most outside of everything else that was going on. I just loved them. Also, I think I mentioned before that Sasha Peyton Smith did such a good job at making this very diverse and nuanced in the themes and the ideals of the characters, etc. And I also love that part for the friendship in the trio because they are different. Frances has just found out that she has powers. Lena and Maxine have had them for at least a little while. Frances' brother was just killed. Frances is new to Haxahaven. Frances is a New York local. However, Maxine has had her powers for a while. She's from a rich family. She is not exactly local to New York, but she knows her way around because of her powers. And Lena is somebody from a reserve. She was literally taken from her parents and her family, and that is her end goal. So their goals are also different because Frances is just trying to solve her brother's murder and exact revenge, probably. Maxine is trying to figure out how to come to terms with her life while also still staying true to who she is. And Lena is trying to just get back to her family. And they have such different outlooks on life and goals, but then they mesh really well. They mesh really well. I think this is such a satisfying book. I think some of the parts you could be like, in the moment, why is this happening? This seems redundant. And then you get to the end and you're like, oh, the groundwork has been laid. She cooked. Naturally, I would in fact read from this author again. I do have 2 other books. I'm so excited. I've heard good things about The Rose Bargain, so I'm also very excited to just keep going with Sasha Peyton Smith in general, but of course, mostly with Frances. I really love this world. It's so memorable. I think the way that New York is described with Frances is so different from what you normally see. A lot of the times you get the modern day New York that is upscale, or you get the kind of person who is in that upscale kind of environment, and that is who they are that's who they are as a character and what they're familiar with. Frances is poor. She is from slums, okay? She is not going to the places with freaking crystal chandeliers, and I find it so fun that you get to see these differences in all the settings, and you get her different point of view. You get her unique point of view because of her background. It's just, she does such a good job. I would recommend this to anybody who wants to read about witches, anybody who will not mind reading about 1911 in New York, and a stubborn, struggling main character. This probably is going to rank among my top reads. I think this is going to shock you, but I think I like this just as much as I like Ally Carter books. I know, I just dropped a bomb. Anyway, I think that's my thoughts. I feel like I said a lot of nothing, but I just loved this book. I think it's such a good book. I'm so happy that I got it, and I have in fact edited part of this video so far, so I know that there is that segment of me where I was like, do I want this? I don't want to read that. Do I want this one? I don't want to read that. And I was just, what do I actually want to read? And then I saw this in there, and immediately I was like, that's what I want to read. That is it. And I tried to get it, and I got it. That was not rigged. However, moving forward, I cannot promise that it will not be rigged. Also, I'm so excited to say that I have qualified the TBR jar. So while I had books that I put in here initially, before the first day of fall, like a couple days before, I went through and I switched out a lot of these books to be more fall-ish. There are still a lot of books that are the same, so I'm so excited. This was so successful. I mean, we made the TBR jar together. We had my birthday. We started school. We started and finished a book, and it was a 5-star read. It's so good. If you haven't heard of this book, this author, this world, please look into it. It is so good, and it's her debut novel, and it's such a good book. She does everything is so organic. Things sneak up on you, but then there are clues and foreshadowing and red herrings, and I could ramble forever. I'm trying to not give spoilers also, but I could ramble forever. Anyway, that is the end of the video. It was so successful. It was so successful. But it's the end, which means te aprecio mucho y mi corazón es tuyo para siempre. Adiós.